We are back in the roaring 20s in TEW IX, and we are attempting to stand up against the first wrestling company in history. Effganic Genesis is a TEW IX mod that brings us back in time to 1920, where the first wrestling company was founded, leaving an extremely unique gameplay experience from player to player, as the universe will generate itself as we go along, to the exception of a few workers that are in the database already. In the first episode, we covered the backstory of prominent combat sports promoter Frank Norris, who we have taken control of as he ventured off to form a new wrestling company to rival an old friend turned foe, the powerful Don Loomis. It's been a bit of a rough start in our first couple of events as we navigate the challenges the young sport faces, such as inexperienced workers varying from the in-ring talent to referees and road agents. We do have specific goals for this series, and they are as followed. Roster the #1 ranked wrestler in the world. Achieve greater popularities in the Mid-South and Southeast than SPW. Become an established wrestling company known across the world. And form a wrestling alliance that spans multiple continents. I don't know how long it will take, but I do know that you haven't seen a local to global like this. We're coming off the heels of two extremely brutal shows, though that's not going to deter us. And for where we're at right now, it may just be the reality of having such green workers and inexperienced wrestlers. We have the third iteration of the amazing grappling spectacle ready to go, and I've got hopes we will continue to see improvement, even if minimal. But before we can get to the show, of course there's going to be backstage incidents. This time, Super Demon once again. He got into a heated argument with a fan outside of the arena, and things nearly got physical, similar to what we had with Benson Sandy last week. We're going to give him a stern warning, small negative impact, of course it did. And Raul Erickson and Super Demon are now travel buddies, despite Super Demon playing a mean-spirited rib on Raw the week before, if I'm not mistaken. Another heated argument, a mercenary personality and a free spirit personality. The free spirit personality seems to be getting into quite a bit of drama. We're going to try some team bonding. We've still got generally high morale, so I don't think it's going to give us too many issues right now. Boy, was I wrong. The team bonding did not work with these kinds of personalities, so we will know not to do any kind of team bonding going forward with this group of gentlemen, because wow, that is the worst result from a team bonding I have ever seen. With that being said, our third spectacle is in fact booked and ready to go. Let's see how this goes. Our opening segment, a poor wild brawl. Wayne Blankenship defeated Uvraj. Wayne Blankenship picks up the victory. We saw for the very first time some kind of interference. You see Super Demon came out and distracted Tanel, as Super Demon took the L last week against Tanel. And that's Super Demon just spreading a little bit of mischief as one of the heels on this roster, really started to establish just what a heel is in professional wrestling, as this has been mostly just fights so far. Despite the poor ratings, the match did get the show off to a strong start. We had poor road agent, poor referee again. That's just going to be a trend for a while because they are just so green. Tanel in-ring performance of 14, Blankenship in-ring performance of 21. In between matches, we had Frank Norris display Black Bull as a special attraction, bringing interest. So we didn't have Black Bull scheduled for a match, but we wanted to keep eyes on him. We want to try to build his popularity. He is one of the higher ranked popularity characters on this roster, so we got to try to keep him featured. He does have one of the highest popularity ratings for the Mid-South on this roster, so we do got to try to feature him fairly consistently. Our next match, this is our cross-division matchup. We had our junior heavyweight match to open up the night. This is a cross-division between Neil Allman and Benson Sandy. In about that had decent wrestling but little heat. Allman defeated Benson Sandy in 12:34. The match was designed to tell a specific story, but there was a lack of flow once again. And the low psychology is really hurting these guys. We may have to move to 4 matches per show and just do like 8-minute matches or something like that, because the low psychology is really hurting these guys. But Allman seemed off of his game. Poor road agent, poor referee. The match did get the crowd hotter. Benson Sandy again with an in-ring performance of 27. He continues to put up the better in-ring performances on our roster. Moving on, our main event in the evening has got Bronson Fraley taking on the Pickle Man, Gary Cowell. And we did not come up strong here. A really poor performance in the main event. I thought we'd be alright with 2 decent in-ring performance, but we get a segment rating of 10. Bronson Fraley, an in-ring performance of 17. Pickle Man with an in-ring performance of 15. Really not what the numbers you want to see. Poor road agent, poor referee. Cowell was off his game. Dragged in the middle. These matches are too long. We're probably going to have to sit at sub 10 minutes to keep things okay. However, Bronson Fraley does pick up another victory, and he is undefeated so far. After Bronson Fraley's victory, his celebration is interrupted by Jamari Meese, who claims to want a chance to prove himself against Bronson in the next event. Frank Norris would come out to cut Meese off and claim that Meese needs to establish himself more before challenging someone like Bronson. So we got the owner Frank Norris protecting Bronson Fraley a little bit more. Jamari Meese wants a chance to get a match against this big man. So it gets a segment rating of 20. It does end the night somewhat positively, despite the match getting pretty poor ratings. However, it does advance the storyline and gain some heat for that, which is good, which I'm not going to lead too much into it, but this will be part of our resolution to figuring out who will be our first champion. Where it goes from here, we'll find out. So we do continue to rise in attendance. We had 43 people here. However, our show quality actually went down. This is the worst show that we had so far. Really poor matches all across the board, and the fans are really unhappy with our storytelling so far. So we're going to have to ramp up the storylines a little bit more if we want to keep this Southern classic wrestling style. We will address the locker room by patting the ego of Bronson Fraley a bit more, as we are really going to try to push him into recognition and stardom. We'll also give some encouragement to our boy Tanel, who took a loss earlier tonight. Now, the road agent work in this event was exclusively Corey Edmonds, meaning we didn't have to shell out the extra money for travel for Haruki Atsuko. While the show was worse, we saved like $200, which is a lot for where we're at right now. The roster has a ton of heels on it right now, and I'd like to get another babyface for each division. So we searched by the better as a babyface attribute, and those who came up either work for SPW or have awful personality traits. We ended up finding August Washburn, who has a people person personality, and Kyson Mays, and brought him on. We're taking a bit of a shot on Mays, who's a troublemaker, but he has some redeeming physical stats, and almost everybody on the market has some kind of negative personality trait, so at least he's a natural babyface. We find that Wayne Blankenship has sustained broken ribs. Shouldn't miss any time, but that's still not what we want with all the things working against us. We've also gotten to the point now where morale issues are starting to stem from our toxic backstage atmosphere. It's really unfortunate that nearly every personality type has some kind of confrontational aspect or negative attribute to it that causes a toxic backstage atmosphere. We've got bullies, sleazy dudes, general troublemakers that just cause issues amongst the entire roster, but most of the people in bad morale states. However, we cannot afford our top guys to be hindered by morale penalties, so we're going to have to shell out a little bit of money and at least make an attempt to fix some of this morale. Okay, so as you can see, we shelled out $100 to Bronson Fraley, and he still is at an irritated state, so it's going to cost way too much money if we try to fix this monetarily. So again, like the Wrestling Association of the Mid-South is going to have to do in this early run in the 1920s, is just roll with the punches. We're going to continue to book this man strong and try to fix the morale from within. However, if we get a good stack of money, a good little stack of change, we are going to give some bonuses, maybe some time off, because their contracts are relatively cheap. As we lean into our fourth event, the Amazing Grappling Spectacle, we might be a little bit more mindful of who we give the night off, considering our backstage atmosphere is so poor. We're going to give Haruki Atsuko the night off again, just so he doesn't find his way into being the road agent of any of our segments. We'll also give Raul Erickson the night off. We're not ready to debut him just yet. We're going to have our new signings debut as well with August Washburn and Kyson Mays, so they're definitely going to be in action tonight. But we're also going to give Tanel the night off as well. I don't know why they decided to generate the world's hardest name. This name is very difficult for me to pronounce, and we're just going to continue to call this man Tanel, eventually repackaging himself as the T-Man or Tanel Vision, but that is for a later date. But Yuvraj is just too difficult for me to say that consistently. It's just a me thing, not dogging on the name by any means. It's strictly a user issue. But nonetheless, we're going to give him the night off. And I think that'll do it for giving everyone the night off. We're going to continue to stay with Oklahoma City I kind of like that idea. And then back to our booking team meeting. And now, since we do have such an issue with morale in the locker room now, we are going to try to give this, we're going to buy some character ideas. So that way we can potentially increase the morale. That way we got a safe bet there and a bit of a gamble on Neil Allman. Okay, so, you know, I don't know if it could go worse from annoyed to how much worse it goes from there, but we may find out. But I don't know if I want to risk it on one of our top baby faces. Okay, Gary Cowell is back in Wrestler's Court. He was just in Wrestler's Court. If not the last event, then the one before that. It does have a small positive impact on him, so we'll take that. Super Demon brought before Wrestler's Court. Kelvin Gebhardt, the bully of the locker room, seems to be the judge of the Wrestler's Court, which is rather interesting. And it had a small positive impact on Super Demon. We'll take those. And then here comes the incidents. Jamari Meese almost got into a fight with Kyson Mays. Jamari Meese, you know, he's wearing out his welcome, man. Let's check out this disciplinary log. And Jamari Meese also almost got into a fight with Kelvin Gebhardt. Granted, Gebhardt pulled a rib on him, so we'll just go with a stern warning here. Nothing noteworthy resulted. Black Bull caused heat backstage with a mean-spirited rib on the referee. Not great. We'll give him a warning. And okay, that only 2 of them so far, so maybe giving the night off might have more value to it early on than I'm used to. Since we do have quite a few people with issues, we can try the open forum, or we can go to Inspire for a good show. Let's go ahead and go the open forum route and see what comes about. Quite a few people got a small morale boost, so that is good. It's time to check out the results from the amazing Grappling Spectacle 4, our 4th event as we are halfway through 1925 and nearing 1926. This event opens up with a segment from Wayne Blankenship, who comes out to the ring dissatisfied with his performance from last week as he lost to Albie Dewberry. He challenges Dewberry to a rematch at the next event. Dewberry would make an appearance and accept the challenge, setting the stage for their next match. Not a bad way to open up the show. The crowd started to get hotter. It got the show off to a strong start. Segment rating 22. Our promos are averaging about 22. They're at least not in the red. However, our matches, now that's a different story. Subpar wrestling, little heat. Kyson Mays makes his debut and defeats the Pickle Man, Gary Cowell. The match was designed to work the crowd because I actually set this up before I made that promo. I totally forgot to take off the work the crowd focus, and now we've got a poorly placed match. We certainly don't need these kind of things working against us, so I've got to be a little less goofy in that regard. Even with the shorter match, 7.5 minutes, the bout dragged in the middle with the lack of flow being noticeable. It is rough, man. I don't know how short I need to make these segments because it is difficult, let me tell you. But we're still having the same road agent issues, still the same referee issues, and that is going to hinder our match quality. Got another segment. Now, this one is not visible to the audience, but it is crucial to a little bit of character development, and it's breaking the fourth wall. It's important to know what's happening, but given the limited technology, the crowd actually can't see this because it is a backstage segment. August Washburn, eager to get started in the Wrestling Association of the Mid-South, catches a frustrated Frank Norris, and his enthusiasm clearly rubs the owner of the company the wrong way, thus causing Washburn's first match to be determined to be against Bronson Fraley. So, August Washburn, he's the new babyface heavyweight of the group, and he got himself in some hot water with the owner, and now he's got a match against the Golden Boy. Okay, next match. The matches continue to just get worse, and we put our best performer, and it didn't work out. Kelvin Gebhardt, we just need to not tell a specific story because these guys just do not have the psychology to put on anything compelling. Dragged in the middle, it's a 9-minute match. These are some of our better in-ring competitors. So, man, these terms with the road agent, it's just tough, dude. It is tough. I didn't realize having competitors so green, having every competitor so green is going to present these kind of challenges. But it's going to be interesting. We're going to navigate through it. We're going to overcome it as well. Anyway, the next match, Bronson Fraley picks up another victory over August Washburn. August Washburn does not make a good first impression. You feel bad for the boy. Washburn was also off his game. In-ring performance of 12. Fraley turned in a performance of 21, so nice job there, brother. Washburn was rusty, so that has something to do with his poor match rating. In the main event, this was set up from last week. Jamari Meese, he needed to prove himself if he was going to be making challenges to Bronson Fraley. Frank Norris was touting Black Bull as a special attraction. Therefore, Frank Norris put Jamari Meese into this match, and here we are with the 12 segment rating. For Wild Brawl, Meese defeated Black Bull in 6 minutes with a roll-up. Now, this still keeps Black Bull somewhat strengthened because he is a rather large human being, so we're not just going to front like he just got his ass handed to him or anything like that. Jamari Meese does pull out a bit of an upset, and Frank Norris is not happy about it. We got Jamari Meese with an in-ring performance of 11, absolutely abysmal. Black Bull had a performance of 19, garbage. And we do advance the storyline, and Jamari Meese is getting better at his gimmick, so there are some positives riddled with all of this negative. The event ends as Frank Norris makes an appearance and is seen keeping a watchful eye on Jamari Meese, who is celebrating a big upset victory over the Black Bull. Meese doesn't necessarily see Frank Norris, but he is standing over in the entrance ramp area, clearly not happy that his boy Black Bull took the loss to Jamari Meese. He expected Jamari Meese to he expected Black Bull to handle business, and he did not handle business. So, a poor show, a 14 rating. It does increase our popularity. The show benefited from having a wide selection of angles, which is good, and we actually don't get penalized for storylines not being interesting enough. So there is that. We added a few more storylines. We'll address the locker room really quick. And there are a few guys who I know don't have the greatest moods, so we're going to try to give them a bit more positive reinforcement to bolster their attitude a little bit. We're still losing a couple $100 each show, paying about $200, $250 for our workers, $130 in ticket sales. They are on very cheap right now because we're only performing in front of about 40 people. We are in debt, which is not a good thing, but we do have some time before we declare bankruptcy to see if we can make this thing happen. We do move up from 3 to 4 in our popularity, which is good. Hopefully we'll start attracting more people, more ticket sales. Well, let's check out our storylines for the moment. So with everything, all these red numbers, we need a little bit of positive encouragement. We need some kind of good words to keep us from jumping off this ledge. This newsletter, our report from the Amazing Grappling Spectacle 4, is that the event was not bad, given that the company is so small. I'll take that. You know, it's better than saying hot dog water. Cold, refrigerated hot dog water. Because that's what those match ratings tell me. But I'm getting a little bit fired up. We're going to go ahead and advance to the next month and get ready for our next show. Getting ready for the Amazing Grappling Spectacle 5. We're going to utilize giving people the night off a little bit more. I think it did help reduce the amount of backstage issues that we had before the show. And if we know we're not going to use somebody, we might as well give them the night off. Even though it might not save them from being upset that they're not a part of the show. With the toxicity in our backstage atmosphere, we need to nip that in the bud as much as we can. With that being said, we're going to give the Black Bull the night off, and we're also going to give the bully of the locker room, Kelvin Gebhardt, the night off. Jamari Meese seems to cause issues in the locker room, but he's featured rather prominently right now on our show, so therefore we can't really give him the night off. That'll do it for us as far as those with the night off, and then of course we're going to choose Oklahoma City. We're still earning good creative energy each show, and we're going to purchase more character ideas, and we haven't applied them just yet, but after this show we're going to get them applied and see if we can fix anybody's morale. We get a safe bet with Bronson Fraley, that's big, and a big gamble on an unspecified worker, so we may try that on someone a little bit lower on the totem pole. Okay, we had issues between our referee and August Washburn, the new addition to the locker room. Benson Sandy was brought to the wrestler's court, and he got a small positive impact on that one. Super Demon's back in some hot water, and this one had a small positive impact on him, and we've got more issues. Now this one is a little wild. Kyson Mays was being obnoxious and eventually beat up Pickle Man Gary Cowell after a fight broke out between them. It's two troublemakers here. We knew we were going to have some issues with this troublemaker, so we're going to find them. And nothing noteworthy came from it. And this isn't what we want. Our T-Man, Tanel, got into a heated argument with a fan. However, this is his first time having any kind of issue like this, so we'll just give him a slap on the wrist. Another instance. Okay. Albie Dewberry almost got into a fight with Jamari Meese. We're going to give them another stern warning. Albie Dewberry does not like this, but he can get over it. We're going to hold the open forum once more, get a small morale boost. Golly, that is so many people with morale issues. It's insane. Okay, so here we are for our fifth show, The Amazing Grappling Spectacle 5. We open up with August Washburn taking on Neil Allman. We don't get a great rating on here. Washburn suffering another loss, facing another tough competitor in Neil Allman. Neil Allman getting an in-ring performance of 24, Washburn getting a performance of 21. You see that we brought Haruki Atsuko back into the fold to see if we can improve our show quality despite spending an extra $150-$200 or so. But the match did get the show off to a strong start. We did get a segment rating of 24 on this one. We do like this. We see the Pickle Man Gary Cowell making his way down to the ring for the next match. However, Kyson Mays never came down to the ring, which would cause Cowell to be awarded the victory by forfeit. So, a no-show by Kyson Mays, Gary Cowell, Pickleman getting the victory here. Wow, I have never seen this before. This segment rating got a 0. That is actually insane. The story behind this is that this was supposed to be a Tanel versus Super Demon match. However, Super Demon steps aside and the giant Raul Erickson emerges. 6'7", 300 pounds of them things. And he just dismantles Tanel. Tanel cannot overcome the size disadvantage, and Super Demon is down at ringside. Unfortunately, this match really just killed the crowd, so we are going to return to the booking screen. We're going to adjust this match, and it was Steal the Show, but we just need him to work the crowd once more and get this crowd a little bit livelier. I gotta say, I totally screwed up here and booked the wrong guys in this promo. This is supposed to feature Kyson Mays in the place of Tanel, but the point of this segment was to announce that Kyson Mays was found unconscious. I will take the L and move on here. Since that last match just absolutely killed the crowd, we had to change this one to work the crowd a little bit. And it's another poor rating, but honestly this is one of the better ratings we've gotten so far from a match. Wayne Blankenship getting his rematch against Albie Dewberry. However, he wins the match by getting a handful of tights, a little bit of a underhanded win, kind of a tainted win. These two have great chemistry and we're going to try to milk that as much as we can. We utilized a creative finish here and we got a storyline coming from it. If the road agent and referee situation wasn't so bad, this might have been an actually decent match. However, this will put the score 1-1 in terms of who's got the other's number in this rivalry. On to the next segment, another really rough main event here, segment rating of 8. And I really should have changed this wild brawl around too, but because of that match that just absolutely killed us, we made some really crucial mistakes on this episode. So we'll move on to this next segment, which involves Frank Norris once again. He takes control of the microphone and says the match immediately ended, stating that the time limit had run out on the match. There was no time limit established prior to the match beginning. Jamari Meese got a little screwed over. Bronson Fraley gets protected here. This show suffered, and this one is definitely on me, from poorly placing matches and incorrectly booking segments. Although, I can assure you, it's only up from here. I've done a little bit of digging, and I was able to identify a few free agents that have positive or at least neutral personality types. Hopefully this will allow us to begin to shift the culture in the locker room a little bit, as its toxicity is beginning to have a negative impact on everyone's morale. Let's take a look at each one. Bryant Hines looks absolutely dapper. His irrepressible personality type and exceptional acting skills will provide a boost in the locker room and segments on the shows. He even has some booking ability, so he may even find a role behind the scenes as well. Keith Truax has got a professional personality type and some exceptional physical traits. He'll join a crowded group of heels in the junior heavyweight division, but there is a chance he could emerge as a star. Steven Vecchio is another heel joining the junior heavyweight division, and while he doesn't have the physical attributes Truax has, Vecchio does already have a small amount of established popularity. Moving on into a message from Haruki Atsuko saying August Washburn does not connect with the fans. Harsh words from our road agent here, but we will keep an eye on Washburn's performances. After all, the babyfaces are few and far in between at the moment. You can also see a company called FNP is starting to send some offers to some of our talents. Who is FNP, you may ask? Why, that stands for Frank Norris Promotions. However, Frank Norris is here in the Wham, and we aren't going anywhere. FNP was actually founded by Frank Norris Jr., who decided to return home to Philadelphia for this endeavor. Now, this was a totally AI move that I had no part in, but we are definitely going to work into a relationship and eventually get FNP a part of our future alliance. With our new wrestlers signed, the last thing I want to do before the next show is talk to some wrestlers and see if we can get them to improve their physique, which we had very little success with. Although we did get a couple of guys to improve the shape that they're in. Going into show number 6, we're going to continue to try to be strategic with who we give the night off to in an effort to minimize any backstage issues before the show. I think I've decided on sidelining August Washburn, Kelvin Gebhardt, and Raul Erickson for this evening. We are going to move the show to Austin, Texas tonight, and I think we may start deviating from OKC every third show or so. We do pick up a couple more character ideas with our creative energy, and hopefully we can alleviate some of this poor morale with these. It's not the Wham without some backstage incidents, am I right? Starting between Black Bull and Jamari Meese, where a fight nearly broke out. These confrontational personality traits aren't going anywhere for the time being, so we'll have to just stay consistent with our discipline and go with the stern warning. Haruki Atsuka was late, and we can tolerate some clashing of personalities, but we need to emphasize punctuality. We're going to issue a fine, which he was not happy with. Steven Vecchio is already getting some heat in the locker room as well, and with all these issues said and done, it's time to address the locker room. Our show quality has been really lacking, so we'll try to inspire everyone and see what comes out of it. The final show we'll cover in this episode is the biggest one we've had yet, as we have 5 matches on deck here in the 6th rendition of the amazing grappling spectacle. To open the night, we've got some junior heavyweight action featuring 2 new members of the roster, making their debuts in Keith Truax and Steven Vecchio. In the next segment, Frank Norris takes a moment to address the fans before Black Bull's match with Benson Sandy. Super Demon and Yuvraj Tanel have been at odds over the last few shows and look to find some resolution as they clash here tonight, and Bronson Fraley is not scheduled to compete in a match, but you can believe he will still be a part of the show. Albie Dewberry and Pickleman Gary Cowell compete to continue the junior heavyweight division competition, and the Pickleman is clearly upset about something. But what? And our main event, Wayne Blankenship going against our road agent, Corey Edmonds, who is also making his in-ring debut. I'm hoping Edmonds' high experience in psychology will complement Blankenship's in-ring abilities well. We are going with shorter matches tonight to combat our low psychology stats, but that's enough prelude. Let's get to the show. First segment, not off to a good start. The debuts of Truax and Vecchio featured very little heat and terrible wrestling. Truax defeated Vecchio in 6 minutes 6 seconds thanks to a gut-wrench suplex. Truax with an in-ring performance of 7, Vecchio with an in-ring performance of 13. Decent reactions for their gimmick, Truax getting a response of great, and Vecchio getting a response of adequate for his cowboy gimmick. Truax was off his game, resulting in that single-digit performance. Of course, we've got the issues with our road agent and referee, and both of these guys are pretty rusty. So hopefully, this is going to be their floor as far as in-ring performances go, and we're going to see things improve between these two. But this match did get the show off to a strong start. The next segment garners a rating of 16 as Frank Norris builds up a grand entrance for Black Bull, touting him as a powerful being and a special attraction. Frank Norris guarantees his victory. And that match for Black Bull against Benson Sandy gives us a rating of 10. It's an extremely short match, less than 5 minutes, and the match was stopped by the referee because Black Bull was just beating Benson Sandy down. This match strengthens Black Bull here, even though Benson Sandy delivers the higher in-ring performance of 22. And this one hurts. Super Demon is actually a really good in-ring competitor, and Tanel actually has some redeeming qualities as well, but they put together a segment rating of 5. I understand that we're going to be living in these low numbers for a while until things improve, until we get a referee, this, that, and the other. But these single digits are really killer. Now let's just check out what led to this segment rating of 5. A lot of penalties. A lot of penalties. Tanel being penalized for inexperience, poor psychology, poor momentum, low morale, low locker room morale, Poor gimmick. Not being a very good face. That's my fault. You know, he is a natural heel. However, we do have him as a face. It's gonna change, but when we started, our roster had such a small amount of baby faces, it had to be done. But we're gonna move on. Our next segment with Bronson Fraley was a hit with the crowd. It's got the crowd white hot. Featured talent Bronson Fraley comes out to the ring to perform various feats of strength in front of the crowd. This is the 1920s. This is the level of showmanship, the strongman style, wowing the fans in attendance, as well as clearly establishing his arrogance. I could not type properly, apparently, when setting up these segments. Now, this angle could have been better. You see, we had an angle idea that actually failed, but overall, this has been our best segment for the evening. In the next match, Albie Dewberry defeating Gary Cowell in 4 minutes 35 seconds by pinfall. We had the storytelling going on. The only thing we can say about this is that it did not penalize us for dragging in the middle. However, I think part of this low segment rating is partially because the match was so quick. Dewberry delivering an in-ring performance of 20, Cowell delivering an in-ring performance of 15. But man, I tell you again, these single-digit ratings, something's got to change about this morale situation, man. After the match, Albie Dewberry extends his hand in a display of sportsmanship. However, Gary Cowell rejects the offer and slaps his hand away, clearly frustrated with his string of losses. Gary Cowell has not yet picked up a victory here in the Wham. And Pickleman is salty and saltier than normal. You can see our storyline, the Pickleman's villain arc begins, and this may just be the true pioneer of chicken shit heel in professional wrestling, folks. On to the main event. We got a decent match from Wayne Blankenship and Corey Edmonds. That is not bad. Both men had an in-ring performance of 20 and up, Blankenship at 20, Edmonds at 23. Got a great response to his gimmick. He is pretty rusty, so that knocked the match, and I bet you we could have got a rating of 20 had Edmonds not been rusty. But what this tells us is we may just have to eat the cost and pay for Haruki Etsuko to come and travel to us so we can put our man Corey Edmonds in the ring. Because I think that little bit of psychology and that little bit of experience he has did in fact help this segment. Okay, looking at some of the feedback, we got quite a few bonuses, but then we go down here and see all of our penalties. Poor psychology, low morale, low locker room morale, and inexperience. You know, Blankenship didn't even get a penalty for low psychology. So we've got some pieces in place to really make some improvements, but we need some big pieces like a competent referee and a knowledgeable road agent. Because without those things, we are going to be treading rough waters. But our show in total is a 17. That is on the up and up. We had some low points. We had a low debut with two rusty in-ring workers, Super Demon and Yuvraj Tanel. We got to change Tanel from being a face, I think, now that we got a few more baby faces, because we don't need any more penalties than we already have. Albie Dewberry and Gary Cowell, that was a pretty disappointing match, I won't lie, but that doesn't mean that everything was all bad. So we got to give Corey Edmonds some shine here, because he did in fact raise the level of the show. I think so. Now, he's being praised for a great performance, but I use the term great very loosely. I don't really truly believe it was a great performance, but we are going to give him that pat on the back. Now, I think it's important we try to reinforce some of the negative morale with some positive morale, and we're going to try to give Albie Dewberry some positivity and help this man turn his mood around. Okay, boys seemed pleased. Now, we lost $430 from the show. We're spending a little under $500 by paying for that second road agent, but man, we are in the red, and I think we've got about 3 years to be bankrupt, and I don't know if we're gonna be able to garner enough popularity with one show a month to start making a profit on these shows, especially if we are paying a man to travel from Japan to the Southeast for a $20 gig. But that is the challenge that we have placed upon ourselves, and we're going to continue to chop at it. We are at 5 popularity in the Mid-South, and we're just going to keep doing our thing. And what I want to do is I want to try to use some of these character ideas to raise some of this morale. So we've got Albie Dewberry annoyed. We've been working at him for quite a while, trying to improve his morale. Let's see what we got. We've got a big gamble, a safe bet, and a bit of a gamble, near certainty, and then a couple other character specifics. So let's go ahead with this safe bet. Let's deploy the character idea. Let's see what we got here. It was a success, and he is still annoyed. His morale must be awful. It worked. It was supposed to allegedly improve his morale. Maybe it takes a week or so to take effect or something. But either way, right now it still tells us that he is rather negative, and we don't like that. We're going to go ahead and continue on and apply these character ideas. And just to make sure I'm reading this correctly, if successful, using a character idea will boost this worker's momentum and improve their morale. If unsuccessful, their momentum will be penalized and their morale will be hit. We don't want that. This is a safe bet though, so I feel comfortable doing so, and it is a success. Okay, he's got some better momentum, but he's still annoyed. Dewberry's got some more momentum, so we do like to see that. And we are well aware that this roster is just riddled with poor morale. We're going to get this prestige for Black Bull on his mask up as well. Haruki Atsuko is just straight up angry. He was not happy that he received a fine, but we slapped him with it. That's what you get for being late. I don't care if you're traveling from Japan. I don't care if you're traveling from literally almost the entire side of the globe. You need to be on time, brother. And that's not what happened with Atsuko. He might walk out on us. I'm not sure. And if he does, the only thing that happens is we stop paying an extra $100, $150, $200 for travel to a man that's not even near, not even close to the spillover of our region. But we're going to keep an eye on it. We do not have the money to give people bonuses right now. We're already in debt. We're already looking at a shelf life of this company if things don't get turned around. However, that story will be for a later episode, as we're going to call it a wrap here. Stay tuned for our next episode where we turn the page into 1926, and we'll see if we can get some footing and improve the situation that we're in. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Leave some feedback down below, and make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.